Welcome back to another episode of the Stick 'em Up podcast. We're here today at the start of the 2023 NHL playoffs. Games will get started in about roughly 2 hours. But if you listened in the last episode, we reviewed most of the first round matchups. We still have a couple that we want to talk about first. But before we get started with that, Luca, anything to kick us off?
No, we're just going to basically pick up from where we left off last time. I think we just finished with the Jets and Knights. So we're going to cover them and then get to the other remaining series that we didn't cover last episode.
Yeah, we kind of just crammed in the Jets and Golden Knights at the very end, but we can talk about them for a little bit if you want. I've been seeing a lot of people saying that it's going to be a closer series than you think. I don't really know how to feel about that. I mean, the Jets had a great start to the season, and then they just literally fell off a cliff the last 2 months. But, what do you think of the Jets?
I think I even said it last episode, that even after, whenever they experience this, fall off or whatever, their defense was fine. Not that it was not like what it was the first half of the season. It was fine. It's just they couldn't score.
Yeah.
I would assume that they'll be able to. They'll make it a series. I feel like I forget what I said at the end of the last episode. I might have disrespected them by saying it's not going to be that close. But in reality, I don't think they're going to be in too much of a hole. I do think it's going to be a good series. They have Connor Hellebuck too. I think we keep forgetting.
Yeah,
that.
it's just goaltending plays such a big part into the playoffs, whether it's a big star or the person you don't expect. Chances are, if your team's making it to the Stanley Cup final or third round, whatever, probably because your goaltender's playing crazy now. Obviously, Colorado proved that to be wrong last year with Kemper. Not that he was bad by any means, but he wasn't stellar. They didn't need him to be a stellar. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think with Winnipeg, it's to end off the season, Blake Wheeler barely scored. Scheifele had 40-something goals, which is amazing to his standards, but I think he only had 60 to 70-something points. He did not get the assists he usually does. And when you think of Scheifele, you think of more of a playmaker rather than a goal scorer. But, I'm not going to take away the 40 goals from him, but, if he was... But Kyle Connor also did... Again, he was over point per game, but he's kind of the opposite. He didn't really have the goals as to where Scheifele had, so it kind of makes you wonder... I don't know if Scheifele and Connor have been playing on the same line regularly all season, but when Connor only has 31 goals and Scheifele has 40, again, not that big of a difference, but it's kind of saying, Connor's the one passing the puck now instead of Scheifele.
I think what also has to be kept in mind is that they're going from the systems that Paul Maurice and Dave Lowry had last year to Rick Bones.
That's actually a great point to point out because you think about it, the Jets in the last year have had 3 different systems implemented, essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's also Nikolai Ehlers, I think you like him too, just as much as I do. Yeah. But he definitely, 38 points in 45 games, that's really good. He's not staying healthy, but I've heard Jets fans also critique him as well because he's not shooting and scoring enough. 12 goals in 46 games.
I think part of the critique is just anger for just him not being healthy. They probably just want him to be
which
healthy.
Is crazy to think because Nikolai Ehlers is 27 already. That's just so mind-boggling to me.
I think you and I said a couple weeks ago that we just still feel like he's 24, 25.
Yeah, but I think that can show though because of the injuries. We don't see him play enough. Yeah. But when he does play, he plays amazing. But it's just I don't know. What's it going to take for the Jets to beat the Golden Knights, I think? What do you think?
The simple answer is just to find whatever they were doing the first half of the season.
Easier said than done in most cases.
You're going to definitely need Connor Hellebuck to be Connor Hellebuck that he was for, I think, the entire season.
I'm not worried about that. I'm not really worried about that.
I think he'll be fine. I don't know who Vegas is. Who are they going with? Are they going with Thompson?
Brossoit.
Oh, that isn't Thompson injured?
Oh, yeah, Thompson, they said he might come back the second half of the first round, which is very vague.
So easily you have an advantage right off the bat, just in that.
Yeah.
Laurent Brossoit, he's a backup. He's
having a great year. I think he was 9. He's 9-0-3 with a 9-14 or something.
Well, it helps with what the team they have in front of them.
Yeah. That Vegas defense is stellar.
Yeah, he had and.
But here's the thing I want to point out, though. You know what I mean? So you said Hellebuck, right?
You know his record, Laurent Brossoit?
Isn't it 9-0-3 or 9-0-3?
He's 7-0-3.
7-0-3.
And he has a 9.27. So maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe
I did not. He's been injured a lot this season.
All of their goalies, all 4 of their goalies have actually
been. But that's actually exactly what I wanted to get into because it's Hellebuck. No matter how bad he plays, you're playing him every single game of the playoffs. He's just one of those goalies where you're not going to your backup for him.
Yeah.
But whereas Vegas, it's okay, say they have a bad game 1. Okay, well maybe put Aiden Hill in, who's looked good at times this season. You know what I mean? But by that time, maybe Thompson's back by game 3 or 4. You know what I mean? You put him in.
And they just casually have Jonathan Quick, who's done it all.
I honestly wasn't even going to say him because I forgot about him. Like, they have goaltending options. Now, you're not going to use all 4 goaltenders in one round. That's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes it easier to play the hotter hand, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
So I think that is... I don't think it plays too much of a factor. But, I mean, maybe it's better for Winnipeg so Hellebuck can get in the groove more. And Vegas is switching their goalie every game. You know what I mean? That's one way. I mean, there's different ways to look at it for something like that.
I think something we need to address is, I believe you brought it up the other day, is that Jack Eichel needs to be Jack Eichel.
Oh, yeah. I think we were just talking on our own, honestly. I was like, well, if Vegas wants any shot to win, they're going to need that 1C support to actually shine through. Because, I mean, that's honestly been their Achilles heel every playoff run they've had. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe blown leads definitely is a part of it, too. But the center depth, I mean, the last time they were in the playoffs, that was definitely the reason they lost.
I mean, regardless, you have Jack Eichel, who was a second overall pick behind McDavid. And in another draft, he's gone first.
I mean, yeah, he's gone first.
So,
we know that.
And it's like, even in Buffalo, on those horrific Buffalo teams, like, he was point per game or over. I mean, right now he basically was point per game, 66 and 67. But you wanted more from that, and especially off to the hot start he had at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
we know he can be a point per game or well over, like 5-10 games over.
Oh yeah, I mean he has the potential to be like Evgeny Malkin, like can take over a game. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just by his stick handling him and doing laps around the ice, he can do that. But that's not really what happens in the playoffs.
Right,
You know what I mean,
he hasn't. This is his.
This is it. Finally, you know what I mean. This is finally it. So, boy, like if he's bad, and they say Vegas gets eliminated in the first round, he does a horrible showing. Is this like okay? He just needed the experience, or has this kid been saying how bad he wants to be in the playoffs? So he better walk the walk, since you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, they're not afraid to trade players anyway. So,
I know.
I'm not saying they get eliminated in round 1. He doesn't show up and he gets the bid.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Vegas getting eliminated in the first round, and I can also see them winning the cup. Mm-hmm. It's really just like it's all about groove. You know, like the Dallas Stars when they made it to the finals in the bubble, they just found a groove and rode with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Montreal Canadiens in the shortened season, they just found a groove, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But the problem that I have with Winnipeg, to go back to them, is their bottom 6 is honestly atrocious. Like, because if you know this, if you want to win in the playoffs, that depth scoring and that third line scoring especially has to be there.
No, you're right. I remember I even said this at like the beginning of the season whenever the Jets were, they were doing really good, and I was just like, okay, yeah, their top 6 is fine, I understand, but it's like there's no way they can stay this good with Kevin Stenlund as your third line where he's
I mean it's just
or center, whatever he is.
Yeah, I mean, and then the inconsistency and drama surrounding Dubois as your 2C. He's been so good at times, been so bad at other times. Mm. But we do know he is a good playoff performer, and I believe he did pretty well last year in the playoffs. Oh wait, they didn't even make it last year. But he does play well in the playoffs. We actually seen that. I still like Nino Niederreiter. I mean, that's a playoff player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though Jets fans, I've also been seeing them criticize him at times too. Because, I mean, the whole team went on, like, a lack of goal-scoring drought for, like, 10-plus games. 6 goals in 22 games. I swear it seemed like he has more. Every time I check Game Center, I feel like he's always scoring for the Jets.
How many assists did he have?
7.
I mean, that's... And how many games?
22.
But
Nino, you got him for the goals. You really don't care how many assists he gets.
Yeah. I mean, that's still not a bad stat line since coming over.
Yeah, but Vlad Nemestikov, I like him. He fits in almost every single team just because of the player. But it's like, I don't see him as, like, a playoff player. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even though he's been in there so many times. I don't know. Like, I think he's another player, too. We look at him, like, 24 years old, even though he's 30 years old already?
Yeah,
and he looks really young, too, to begin with. But, I don't know. I just don't think that's a person you need for a playoff run.
No, I don't think he's not the player for, like, a playoff run. It's just, like, with a team like the Jets.
His role. Their
depth is so, like, lackluster that to the point where it's like you look at Vlad Nemestikov on the third line, and then who's he with? I don't know how they.
But then, to be honest, at the same time though, I will say this for all 32 teams, if they have Nemestikov, I like Nemestikov in a third line spot. I think that's perfect. He's not really a fourth line kind of player.
But he can.
Yeah, but he's not, but he's definitely not a top 6 player. I think he's that perfect third line winger. Mm. But it's like, I feel like at this point, if you want to be a good cup contender and you have Vlad Nemestikov on your team, he should probably be your 12th, 13th, or 14th best forward
Yeah.
on the roster.
Yeah, no, but we would have different conversations if, say, this was a Vlad Nemestikov on a third line of like a Boston Bruins, where your third line is
that's
Nemestikov, Coyle,
Yeah.
and like Bertuzzi or
Well, for something like this, I don't see any players on Winnipeg's bottom six that really complement Nemestikov.
Yeah, no,
You know?
and I mean Sam Gagner was playing on the first line for what I think was like a good chunk of the
Yeah,
season.
I mean, all these guys, like, I'm sure Jets fans, like, these players are all great in some way, shape, or form, but it's like, first off, they barely have any regular season experience, all the younger and depth guys, let alone playoff experience. So, yeah, against a Vegas team that's basically all been there before with some team or another.
Where you take their depth over Jets' depth. Yeah.
And I hate really, like, looking into the finite points. Well, I like this player on the third line better than this other team's player, so therefore I think they're going to win. I don't like looking at it like that, but it's like, I feel like after this talk, we're starting to realize that the Jets are kind of outmatched.
Yeah, I mean, I hate, and I'm guilty of doing that too. But I mean, at the end of the day, I can see the series going either way because, I mean, like I said, the Jets have a hell of luck, you know.
Well, luckily, I mean, Vegas' defense, they're tough too. They're going to hit, they're going to block a lot too. But luckily, so will the Jets' defense too. They will too. I mean, Nate Schmidt, Pionk, Dillon, DeMello, Stanley, Sandberg, those were all big guys.
They can all move, well, maybe not Stanley and DeMello, but they can all move the puck as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got Morrissey for too, and Pionk specifically. But yeah, I mean, it's a big defense. Now, is the skill and the awareness as good as Vegas's? I would say no.
Probably not, no.
But these are definitely playoff-like defensemen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, defensively, I mean, we always say that the Jets, like, they don't have, like, a number one. They just have just good top four.
Well, now Morrissey.
Well, yeah, Morrissey.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Before that.
But I think the only chance that Vegas loses is if that Jets top six actually shows up. But it's like, will Blake Wheeler show up? I don't know. Will Scheifele show up? I don't know. You know, Connor, I feel like Kyle Connor's going to be fine in any situation you put him in. Will Ehlers show up? We don't know. And obviously the injuries that will happen, but you can't predict those. But I don't know. I think the odds are too stacked up against the Jets, and they came into the playoffs like so cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
well,
on the lowest notes.
They didn't come in.
They won the games at the very end, unlike the Penguins. You know what I mean? They won those big games.
It was basically ever since I feel like Rick Bowness made that comment about how like basically our good players aren't being good.
And he has every right to think that.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then basically I feel like that was just a tiny bit of a wake-up call, just enough to get him in. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we said at the end, but I'll say Vegas in 6. I'm pretty sure that's what I said last episode. I'm going to stick to it still.
Just to be different, I'll say Jets in 6. Just to be, I don't want to take the same thing.
Jets in 6? I mean, that's interesting for sure. Like we said, it could happen. So, all right, moving on now. Minnesota, Dallas. I think this is going to be an underrated series, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one.
But this is another one too. Well, maybe not so much as the last series we just talked about, but this I could see going either way. But I think the favorite is obviously Dallas.
You want to start with them? You want to start with Dallas?
I mean, yeah, we can start with Dallas for sure. What are your? I mean, I think I said to you yesterday how weird Dallas's defense is after Heiskanen, but it's good. I mean, I did not realize that their goals for were that high.
Yeah, they have 5 players with 70+ points.
Their special teams is that great. You know what I mean? So overall, this team is actually really really impressive.
Yeah, no, they I mean, Peter DeBoer, we always like critique his like postseason.
We said he'll get you to the playoffs.
Yeah,
he'll get you out of the first round probably too.
Yeah, it's just what happens after that, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, Jason Robertson, that first line of Pavelski, him and Hens, like I don't think you have to worry about that line at all.
Yeah, I mean Pavelski in the playoffs too, a part of Dallas. We've already seen what that's like.
Yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see what Wyatt Johnson does in his first. I mean, first as a rookie, just to see what he's like.
I think they should be careful with him on the ice, because like I don't think that's. I mean, if you score goals in the NHL, you're good. But so far, they really just utilize Johnson as that goal scorer. No, I mean obviously he's not known for his playmaking, but doesn't really hasn't gotten many assists this year. They kind of just really use him for that setup guy to be the setup man and the finisher. So I don't know. It kind of be interesting to see how they use him in the playoffs. You know. And he's smaller, too.
I mean, you're mentioning how, like, clutch Pavelski is, but we totally forgot about Mr. Clutch himself for the Dallas Stars.
Kiwi Ronta?
I meant Heiskanen, but yeah, I guess him, too.
Oh, yeah, Heiskanen, yeah. I thought you were going there, honestly.
No.
That's the first thing I thought of, because he's terrible. He's not good. I'm just saying right now. But yeah, I mean, Heiskin, he's going to lead the team. And then I think we're also forgetting, too, this is the sole reason why I picked Dallas to win. Did you forget what Jake Ottinger did in the first round last year?
Yeah, basically just
Got them to almost got them to the second round.
basically just kept them there.
They should not have been. That should have been like a 5-game series.
Well, it doesn't matter now because he finished the season with a 9.19, 2.37 goals against. Their goaltending is not an issue at all. I totally forgot they had Scott Wedgwood too. By the way, I don't know.
Yeah, he had like a big issue, like health issue on the ice.
Oh, really?
Where he had to get like stretchered off.
I remember that.
That was a couple months ago.
I remember that.
But yeah, I mean, I like the Dallas team. Like Luke Glendening, I feel like so many people overlook that signing, and just think of him as like some plug-in.
I mean, to be honest, I remember when we watched the Pens Dallas game, like the most recent one, and I was watching him, I was just like, yeah, he's gonna be a fourth line center. He's gonna just
That's what he is.
Yeah, that's all.
But that's what you need in the playoffs. Whereas in the Nemestikov, you might not need.
I feel like there's got to be someone better than that you could put
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I know they're real high on Ty Dellandre. He's actually proven to be really, really useful. Kiwi Ranta, I don't understand how they still have him on the team. Dadonov, he's fit in really nicely. I like that a lot.
I don't really know much about that Olofsson.
They just keep calling him up and sending him down so much this season. That's what I know. Domi, 7 points, 2 goals in 20 games with Dallas.
Oh, really?
Not great, but it's also he's not a first line center.
I thought he had more. I thought he had more than.
Where he was in Chicago. Yeah, Mason Marchment. I feel like I was so eerie on that signing in the offseason when it first happened. But I mean, 31 and 68 is definitely not bad.
Are you advocating? I can't tell. Are you advocating for him or?
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Mason Marchment. Really.
Well, I mean, he did fine for like the first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, and then he really dropped off.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him. I mean, with that contract you have him signed to, you kind of wanted more.
Yeah, but all in all, I think there's more question marks for Minnesota than there are Dallas. But even still, I still like Minnesota. If you want to move on to them now, we can transition.
Can. I do agree that there are some more question marks for Minnesota. I don't think they're super detrimental.
No, because, I mean, Gustafson's going to be the Game 1 starter. Found that out today. And obviously, insane season he's having. I think that's, not to bash on Fleury, but that was the right move. Make him the starter. Like, that's the no-brainer move.
Yeah.
But you got to think, Ottinger's already been there. He's been through a lot in just one round, whereas Gustafson kind of really wasn't expecting to get thrown into this.
Right.
I don't know if that is even going to matter, but that's always just something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting they got Kaprizov back, right? I'm pretty sure he just came back from injury.
Klingberg, I think, is out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, day-to-day injury. But still, that Minnesota defense is interesting. I don't know what to say. I don't know if I would say it's better than Dallas's or if it's even at the equal level. But, I mean, obviously, I like Jared Spurgeon. I think he's very good. Same with Jonas Berdine. He's one of the best shutdown defensemen in the league. I mean, Matt Dumba, he's definitely not what he kind of was a few seasons ago, but he's still very good top 4 defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob Middleton, that's a playoff defenseman right there.
Yeah, did you know what I was baffled by this. I didn't obviously the Wild had a good regular season, but you know what their goals against was? You know what they finished with?
What was that?
They were 8th in goals against. Like, they were good defensively.
Whenever Kaprizov went out, they completely changed how they play hockey.
And in goals for, they were only 22nd. I thought they would have been like a little bit. I thought they would have been like 15, 16 or something. But
yeah. I mean, it's just, I think you got to look at it too, especially playoffs. We talked about this in the last episode. You got to look at the center depth. Dallas compared to Minnesota, it's because first off, you have Hens, center, amazing. You got Pavelski, who can also play center. You got Sagan as well.
And Ben.
And Ben. It's like, and they have Radek Faksa, who I know is really good on the defensive side too. Luke Glendening, always good as winning faceoffs too. And then now you switch it over, it's Eriksson Ek,
which is fine.
You know, Ryan Hartman, Freddie Gaudreau, and I don't know who's a 4th line center. It could be anyone at that point, but it's not impressive at all. And it's nothing to bash Eriksson Ek or Hartman because the roles that Dean Evanson's having them play is very good, but it doesn't match up to the star caliber that
Dallas has.
Yeah, that Dallas has.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie Gaudreau just got signed to that contract. I never really understood him. Along with Ryan Hartman, you and I've told you my criticism with Ryan Hartman. I just don't understand He nearly scored 40
I mean,
last year.
he's just one of those players that just fit in well, but still, you know what I mean?
Not that
he's not the quickest. He is physical. He's kind of got a temper to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Kind of not what you would want your 1C to be on in your team.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But sometimes teams prefer different things. You know what I mean? It's working for them, obviously, but I think they're gonna realize they're actually gonna need to go out and get like a bona fide top 6 center.
That's what I mean. Like
offseason.
I said it to you last year. I was like, there's no way you can win a Stanley Cup with Ryan Hartman or Eriksson Ek as your first line. So
But they can't even go out and get anything because after this season, those buyouts
get bad.
Get bad. I can actually, it goes from 12.7 dead cap to 14.7 dead cap.
I'm also not bashing, like even you said, I'm not even bashing on Eriksson Ek and Hartman. It's just like you need a number 1 center.
They're not. Yeah, Hartman I think I'll say he could be a number 2, but if it's blank Eriksson Ek, Hartman, Goudreau,
that's amazing.
You just need someone, and hopefully they're intending to be Rossi, but not saying that he's going to be a bust, but he's definitely a couple years away from taking over that number 1 center role.
Yeah, there was a little bit more hype this year. People thought he'd do better, and he just didn't have a good start, which is fine. I don't think he's gonna.
I think it's fine, but you got to show him something next year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're. What has Brock Faber done? Has he played any games?
Yeah, they have him on the roster. He's played 2 games, +2, or no? Oh yeah, +2, no points.
Interesting to see what they do with him. I haven't really looked much into it.
Yeah, I feel like him and Luke Hughes and all those other college guys that are in the playoffs with their NHL teams, I feel like they're kind of just they might play a game or 2, but they're kind of more just there for the experience.
I think between the two, I feel like Luke Hughes will probably play more just because of the status and the overall just better player.
But one thing I always marveled at for Minnesota doing within the last 2 to 3 seasons, but it's because of those buyouts that they have to, is they're really testing their depth and who they plug into their bottom 6. They're giving guys like Shaw, Duhaime, Dewar, those guys were around last year too, but they're finally trusting them to give them a top 12 spot on the team, and I think that's actually kind of impressive, honestly.
You remember we were talking, just go back to the center thing. I mean, Sam Steele was their center for a little bit, the first 2 months.
That was a value signing, you know what I mean? They thought, you see a lot that Anaheim didn't qualify. I'm we can get this guy for cheap, and he might still has 1 season of potential left.
Yeah,
see what we can get out of him.
Yeah, they threw him between Kaprizov just to see if that would do anything.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I probably would have tried it too.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but it's like when the Pens did with Dom Simone, you put him with Crosby. See if you can get something from him.
Yeah, but I mean, Minnesota, it's not going to be an easy out because, like I said, you have Gustafsson. If he doesn't play well, you can throw in Fleury. I'm not saying that's going to be any better at this point in Fleury's career, but let alone you can still try it for a game. Definitely won't hurt you.
How old is Fleury?
37.
Oh my God, is he turning?
Actually, I think he's 38.
Is he turning? Let's see.
He's 38 right now.
Oh my gosh.
He has 1 more year, 3.5. I think next season's his last season, anyways.
Yeah, he turns 39 in November.
I'm just happy he's got a home.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot how old he actually is.
Yeah, but so with that being said, I mean, who do you got?
I'm gonna say Dallas in 7. I think that's a safe bet.
I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna say Dallas in 7, but it's also
yeah, you can see it going.
It's kind of but it's also kind of like the Toronto thing where it's they got to get out of the first round eventually. Minnesota,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I could have seen it happen last year and the year before that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can also see it this year, but like I said, when you really deep dive at a team, screw all the numbers, just purely based on what the roster is, all the stats that the team has, the team stats, and just focus on the roster, you can really dial down to see how these matchups are going to go, because the reason why you probably win a playoff game is line matchups and situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who gets the first line change and stuff and how your coach is going to respond to that.
Yeah. I always say this. I always try and figure out what Dean Evason is, why he's such a good coach. I gotta I think what it is, it's almost like Mike Sullivan, where he gets more from his players.
It's got to be that.
I think it is. I mean, because their depth is it's all right, but I wouldn't. I don't know if I would have trusted a Morgan. Was it Morgan Shaw? And Mason Shaw. I don't know if I would have trusted them entirely, but they had good years.
But then again, if it's but like I said, they're bringing up all these guys from the minors and stuff, and they're working out luckily. But it's if you think about it, they kind of have to. They need those league minimum contracts on their team. They need Freddie Gaudreau, he could have got way more on the open market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, Minnesota literally needs these value signings if they want to stay competitive.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, you can bash the guy all you want. I don't even know if many people do, to be honest. But Bill Guerin, given with what he's been doing, I think he's been doing a pretty good job in terms of drafting, using your assets. Like, don't forget, the Wild got 2 fourth-round draft picks for retaining salary on 2 different players, and they're in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, I have no issue with Bill Guerin. I think he's a good GM.
I think he's a great GM. I just don't think he needed to buy out both players still. I just don't think that needed to happen.
Yeah, Ryan Suter definitely could have probably stayed.
I mean, he's playing fine.
Yeah, you're about to play him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
You're about to play him.
So, yeah. So we're both saying Dallas in 7. If the center depth really shows though to be bad, I could see this happening in 5 or 6.
A little quicker, yeah. I
But-
can see that.
All right, I think that's good enough right there. So I think we'll move on to probably the easiest prediction we'll probably have, but it's also the most fun discussion, I think, too, and that being Colorado and Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
I think let's just start with Seattle first because I think that's way more exciting
Yeah.
than the other part. What do you got to say?
It's going to be interesting to see how is Grubauer the starter? Has he been named the starter?
I'm not 100% sure, but I would imagine so.
It's going to be interesting to see how he goes up against his old team because like last year, yeah, the Kraken sucked and he sucked immensely. This year the Kraken are good, but he also wasn't very good either. He had an 8.95.
No goalie on the Kraken. I mean, Martin Jones for that 3-week run at the start of the season was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean Martin Jones has a 8.86, but he finished with a 27-13 record, which is that's just crazy. But
yeah, I mean, it's just like the 4 core for Seattle is amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, we tell you, but it's not amazing though. It's just good. It's good enough.
they have 8 40-point players on their team, and one of the and
Almost 9 because of Burakovsky.
That's literally about to say.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if he just played. Imagine if he wasn't injured. I don't think.
I wish he was healthy the whole season because I want to see how many points he could have put up.
I think he's going to be out for this. Is he not?
I don't think he's close now. He's been out for a while.
What happened to him?
I just know he's been out basically since game whatever how many games he's played since that game.
One player I want to talk about on the Kraken is Daniel Sprong, who just all of a sudden
Yeah, I mean the Sprong. Talk about Sprong real quick. Because
so in Pittsburgh, I don't know what the issue was in Pittsburgh. I didn't really follow him too much. I knew he was a first rounder in 2015 or 14. Whatever.
He was a second rounder.
I thought he was a first rounder.
Mm-mm.
Was he an early second rounder?
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right, that makes me feel a little bit better. Early second rounder who I knew was had a little bit of hype around him. He could score goals and kind of somebody who was pretty dynamic with the puck, and for some reason it just didn't work out in Pittsburgh. I don't know if it was. I mean, you could probably answer it. I don't know if it was he got rushed. I don't know if
he just kind of just didn't work out, and then they traded him to Anaheim. Nothing much really worked there. They sent him to Washington, and honestly, he played really well in Washington with the ice time that he got. That's something he just never got the ice time.
Mm-hmm.
Could never crack in. But he scored whenever he got every opportunity. They sent him over in the Marcus Johansson trade last year. He had a really good end of the season there. And I remember that Seattle didn't end up even qualifying him.
signed him to a PTO.
And they just signed him to a PTO, and now he's having this amazing season. So I'm glad to see it work out for him. I really am.
I'm interested to see if this is going to be this. If this is now Daniel Sprong, your 20,
Yeah.
your 20 goal, 45-point player. If it is, that's amazing.
Yeah, Seattle's definitely got to be careful what kind of contract they give him at the end of the season. Luckily, he's still an RFA, but he is eligible for arbitration. But he's not making anything, so it shouldn't be that bad.
Yeah.
But they definitely do have to be careful with kind of what I would say, maybe a 3-year and the $2.5 million. But he's playing more than that. I don't know. That's a conversation for the off season. But basically, what I'm saying is players like Sprong and they just got Gord and Bjorkstrand, all these really good forwards are just spread throughout the lineup. So it's if you're Colorado, what line are you shutting down?
Well, tell you who you're going to have a hard time shutting down, and it's Jordan Eberle.
Yeah, I mean he's a perennial playoff performer too.
Yeah.
That's kind of the theme of this episode.
Yeah, I know he's not. No, he's not a game-breaking talent, but
well, against the Penguins he is.
Okay, aside from that, yeah. But he finished a year. I raved over him in fantasy. I was like, yeah, you should probably pick him up. I got him, and I was like, I'll give him to you in a trade. Dude, he had 20 goals and 63 points. I didn't realize how good of a season he actually had.
But it's just Eberle is a great player. Schwartz is a good player. I can name all their forwards and be that's a great player, but they're not game changers. You know what I mean? They're not
Yeah.
a Mikko Rantanen. They're not a Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
They can't just take it over if they
They
want
can't. So, yeah, I think Colorado will struggle. I think the first 2 games, Seattle's going to score a lot of goals.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think Colorado will end up shutting it down. Like, they'll start realizing, like, where they're getting beat up at.
Yeah, I mean, Jared McCann finished 40-goal scorer. Jared McCann. I'm sure that knife
That one
digs
hurts.
deeper and deeper. And then, I mean, their best player probably is a 20-year-old. So, I mean, that's kind
Oh,
of...
yeah. I think he's going to have a... this is his rookie season, but I think he's going to have a breakout performance.
In the playoffs?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could see him scoring an OT winner.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying he's gonna be like atrocious by any means, but like, I mean, they're gonna obviously game plan around
Listen,
him.
this is what you got to think, though, about Seattle, and especially Beniers, too. Like, there is no stress. First off, you're playing the defending Stanley Cup champions in the first round. That's hard enough.
Yeah.
You're playing in your second season ever as a team. That's hard enough. And not even just remembering what the first season was like, how miserable that was.
Yeah.
So now this, like, these players are just going to go out there and have fun. And I think we've said it before, that's when a team's most dangerous.
Especially for someone who Matt Beniers, on top of the 2 things you said. I mean, it's his rookie season. You know, second season for the Kraken, first season for him.
Yeah, I think you can I'll say let Beniers like learn how to shut down, like let him try, because I mean he's got a great shot and he's actually so fast. I never realized how fast he is, but when he got drafted, he was drafted more as a 2-way anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be like, do you give him the chance to shut down McKinnon, or do you give that to someone more of like a Yanni Gordon?
I would probably say, I mean, you experiment. I mean, like you said, they're
Yeah,
basically
try
playing
it.
for fun.
Yeah.
So you start with one, doesn't work, go to the other. I mean, it's...
Yeah. Hopefully Dave Hacksaw is going to have enough sense to make this more about an experience and not much of a challenge. Make it more of an experience rather than a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
No, yeah, I mean... Yeah,
because this is the best gift you could get. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think he understands. Well, I would hope he understands that. Because I mean, you're playing the defending Stanley Cup champions. It's like, what more could you ask for? If you take it to 7 games, you gotta be so proud of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, I mean, obviously Colorado's defense is better, but it's like you got guys that can combat the size of Colorado's defense with Alexiak and Larson, and I mean Schultz has been there before. I'm not going to say he's going to be a difference maker, but he's definitely been there before.
That Vince Dunn and I think it's the Dunn Larson pair is apparently like really good.
Dude, I mean, it's the best. It's your stay at home and it's your mobile guy. It's your rover. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm taking Taves McCarr over Dunn Larson.
Yeah.
It's just kind of more the thing too. So when you look at the lineups, the reality sets in.
Is their defense fully healthy?
Manson and McCarr are both playing tonight.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because then I was like, well, I didn't know about tonight, but like, who would take the first game? I'd be like, okay, maybe Seattle, you know.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Seattle takes game 1.
And, you know, I mean, and they played the entire season without him, but the Avalanche are without Landeskog, so, I mean, that definitely doesn't help. But, I mean, they've had a 50...
But more chance for guys like Lehkonen and Confer to step up.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
even more than they already have.
Yeah, they already had a 51 season even without him, so I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, and then, like I said, it's just that goaltending. I mean, Georgiev's having a great year, and they have Francis as the backup, whereas you have Chris Drieger, Philip Grubauer, and Martin Jones as your 3 goalies you're going to put your faith in.
Hopefully one of them decides to show up, because you're going to need them to. So.
Yeah, it's not even like... Yeah, I mean, Colorado's going to score so many goals in that again. I mean, I think the series is going to be a lot of goal scoring. Mm-hmm. Because McCarr's not fully healthy. He's been dealing with this injury, like, all season, where... plays a couple, sits a couple, so on and so forth.
Yeah, definitely a unique year for McCarr.
Mm-hmm. But I'm interested to see, how Colorado plays that first period.
I'll probably do my prediction. I will probably say Avs in. I'm gonna say probably Avs in 5. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm gonna say Avs in 6. I think.
I was gonna say that, but I don't know.
I think Seattle's gonna take 1 in Colorado, and I think Seattle will get a win on home ice too.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
So based on I'm saying it's going to be like 2-2, and then Colorado's going to win games 5 and 6. I think that's how it will go.
I can totally see
definitely,
that as well.
You're definitely winning a game in Climate Pledge for the fans.
Yeah.
You are definitely winning a game there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what we got for the 3 series that we didn't finish going over. But as of today, there are some breaking news that we can talk about with Calgary GM Brad Treliving getting fired. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that is very, very interesting. I think he's actually he was the longest tenured Canadian GM in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
Came in 20. Yeah, because Dubas wasn't until Matthews' draft, I'm pretty sure.
Not Luke Hughes or Kent Hughes.
He was pretty.
Vancouver. Yeah, Tree Living was the longest tenured Canadian GM before today.
I mean, I forget who said. Oh, it's the new interim GM. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a quote from the intern who was originally the assistant GM, basically saying, if you read you don't really have to read in between the lines because it's pretty out there. He was not a fan of what Tree Living was doing, and on top of that, the whole Daryl Sutter situation. It sounds like they're gonna move on from him. He wants to move on from him, even though I'm pretty sure Sutter is their the owner's guy. I forgot their owner's name. But I'm pretty sure there's a connection between the owner and Sutter that's personal, where it's that's who the owner wanted.
Don Maloney?
No, that's the assistant, right? That's not the owner. I know that's.
Oh, that's the assistant. Then.
Yeah, he's the one taking over, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna try and get rid of Sutter for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Tree Living was the problem. I really don't.
He wasn't the best.
No, I mean, yeah, he had questionable moves. But but I feel like with most moves, you could find a reasonable explanation as to why that move was made.
Mm-hmm.
But it's we were talking on our own. I don't think anything was on this, but when Jonathan Huberdeau goes from 115 points to what did he finish?
55 or something.
That is not on the GM. That is on the head coach.
Yeah.
There is no reasonable explanation why a player should have 50 less points than what he just had.
And it's not like the cast around him is bad. You're either playing alongside of Elias Lindholm or Nazem Kadri.
55 and 79 after 115 and 80.
That's
coaching. That's coaching.
There is a thing. He had the worst drop off, I think, in NHL history of point differential.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that he finished above a plus. He was a +2. But
yeah, barely.
Yeah, but it's wow. Imagine if you didn't give him that contract extension. Oh, that deal could have been so much better.
Yeah, I don't know what's next for Tree Living. I made the joke with you saying oh yeah, watch out for Pittsburgh, but
they're not getting him. Because that literally just goes against everything they just said a couple days ago.
I do wonder where he'll go if
he's getting hired by someone. I feel like.
Who though?
Toronto.
I don't
stuff you can't even predict.
I don't think Dubas. I don't know if you listened to the most recent episode of the Steve Dangle podcast, but they had Chris Johnson on, and he was a firm believer that Dubas isn't leaving because of the Matthews contract, and basically you can't put the responsibility of his extension into another GM that isn't familiar with the system.
We'll see though if Tampa sweeps.
I know you want Dubas, but I can.
But I'm fully prepared for it not to happen. I don't know. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. But it's also if you look at Tree Living, I don't know what to think of him because it's he tried everything in his power to keep Johnny Gaudreau. He literally that man was do you remember that man on the start of free agency day how devastated Tree Living looked?
Mm-hmm.
He's we tried everything. Or whatever.
They threw the bank and more at him. So
yeah, and he didn't even make any free agent signings that day or anything that. I saw, I was wow, that is a defeated man who definitely tried to keep him.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you were forced to trade Kachuk, and at the time you got a robbery for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously it looks bad just on recency bias, but I don't know.
Yeah. I do think next year that I think the Flames will be bad. People downplayed them so much this year. They talked so much crap on them, and I guess rightfully so. But it wasn't even. It really was not the makeup of their roster. I don't hate their roster at all. It's just this whatever systems that Daryl Sutter was deploying.
Dude, it's coaching. It's 100% coaching. Now, I think. Well, the defense is astounding. Regardless if they put up 60 points each player or not, I love the defense. You know, Hannafin, Anderson, Tanev, Zadorov with 13 goals, 14.
Shillington didn't even play this year or whatever.
Oh yeah, he was hurt. That defense is very good. I actually like that very much. But it's also then the goaltending. First year, Markstrom stunk. Last year, 9 shutouts, Vezina candidate. This year, horrible again.
So I guess that only means one thing. He's gonna be a Vezina.
He's gonna be a Vezina candidate next year. I guess that's what that means. But it's also you look at the forward core. It's when you sign Nazem Kadri to that 7x7, you knew it wasn't gonna be a good contract at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But you knew you were gonna have a chance to win the Stanley Cup right away
for the next couple of years. Yeah.
The $7 million really isn't the problem, I feel like.
It's the term.
Yeah, but it's also like you knew you weren't going to get a 90-point season out of Kadri. Well, maybe you
Well, I
actually
hope
did.
so.
Maybe you thought you
Well,
were when you added Huberdeau
yeah.
and all that. But, I mean, what did he do? 56 and 82, not good enough.
No.
Simply not good enough. You need at least, if you had like 65 to 70, I like that better, but that is minus 19 too.
Mangiapane fell off as well. He had like 30-something last year, right? Like 38 goals or something.
And again, like you knew he wasn't going to have that same kind of production. I mean, he only had 12 less points last year compared to last year. Which,
oh, really?
But he also had half the goals.
Yeah.
That's the problem right there.
I mean, Dylan Dubé had almost a coming out season for him. I mean, he had 43 points in 82 games. Or no, he had 45 in 82. I was looking at Mangiapane.
I mean, Lindholm had 20 less goals than last year. Do you think that's probably because Gaudreau's not there? I can assure you.
Yeah.
So is it now? I mean, we're basically saying that it's Sutter is the reason why they're bad, or is it like Huberdeau and Lindholm probably didn't mesh as well as they intended?
It's probably a mixture of both, but I think it's more so.
And Tyler Toffoli had a great year too.
Dude, they just came off a 50-win season last year. And I mean, it's just. I mean,
they put Nick Ritchie to save their season on the line.
I mean, and then you obviously heard Sutter's comment why he put him out there
because he beat him one time.
Yeah, that was they're gonna have to find a right coach that meshes with this team.
Yeah.
I mean, Daryl Sutter, his whole system was outdated, so it makes me think like, how did they have a 50-win season last year?
I mean, contract years, right? Like Gaudreau, contract year for Kachuk technically is a contract year because, our RFA or last year in it. I think that could be, I mean, Gaudreau and Kachuk, you could definitely argue that, but there was also Markstrom too. I don't know. I really don't know. But it's like, I think the NHL and teams, at least hopefully they start to realize this, that the older guys are not going to have success. Like older coaches, older GMs, that's starting to, not to be weird, but literally outdated.
Yeah.
Literally are starting to be outdated, and it's not the move anymore.
I'm sure there was also probably some inner locker and little issues that happened throughout the season. I mean, at the end of the season they had a presser, and I think it was Mackenzie Weegar who I don't remember what the question was, but it had something to do with the facility of the Saddle Dome.
Yeah. And that place was horrible.
Yeah, and he just totally bashed. I think it was the locker room or just the arena as a whole, and I was like, well, that's just that's not really something you want to hear from him.
Two things that are guaranteed. People hate playing in Winnipeg, and the Saddle Dome in Calgary is horrible. That's the two most common knowledge things about.
Yeah, he was not, and this is the player you just traded for. They didn't sign him to an extension, so you got to think well, if he's.
They did.
Oh, they did.
Weegar has an extension.
Oh, I'm mixing up. Wait, do they both?
Yeah.
When did the Weegar?
Weegar happened before Huberdeau. Do you know the extension before you look at it? You can guess it.
I definitely cannot guess it.
What do you think it is?
I mean, his last contract was 3 something.
3.25.
Yeah.
Was what he was making on his last one.
It's got to be 6.5.
6.25.
Oh wow! I
8 years.
Give myself a pat on the back for that. I was
8 years. That's what I mean. It's
Well, never mind. I disregard everything I say.
Because I think we said it to each other, or at least I said it to someone. I think whenever the trade first happened, because obviously Weegar and Huberdeau still needed extensions. I was like, what if Calgary's just really bad and they trade Huberdeau and Weegar off as rentals and get probably 3 or 4 more first-round draft picks? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you just signed him to an extension, and he just.
That's really, why you can't the Brinkett situation. Good thing they didn't sign him to an extension. He had 25 goals.
Yeah. And
they're able to trade him now. Obviously, this is a little different because you're dealing with UFAs rather than RFAs. But the same principle still applies essentially. Why would you lock a guy up 8 years when he hasn't played a single game for you?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's going to be interesting to see what they do this offseason. There's so many teams that have interesting off seasons ahead. They are one of them for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you want to trade Weegar, you probably can still. Because, I mean, I've heard so many different things on Weegar that he's having a good or a bad season, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I feel like you could still trade something for Weegar even before that contract extension kicks in. Because the way I see something like this, the team is agreeing that Weegar is worth that extension if they want to trade for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, obviously it didn't kick in yet, but if they want to trade him with the draft, he's coming with this. So it's basically, they trade him to Boston, so to say. Well, Boston's basically signing to that 8-year. Whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's got that. What was it, 8 years?
Yeah.
I mean, he's 29, so I mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean though. If you're trading him, that team has to agree with that contract.
Yeah.
But where Huberdeau is, dude, you can't trade Hugh. You probably could. You're not going to get a lot, but I don't even know if a team would want that.
Yeah, what was it, 10.5?
10.5, which is alarming, to say the least.
I mean, if before this season, we probably would have been like,
No, that was a good
10.5.
contract.
Oh, yeah, he just set the record for assists by a left winger. But
Yeah, I don't know. I think that Calgary situation is going to be real interesting to look at. But if I'm being honest, I don't expect much change in terms of like their core.
No.
Because they just locked everybody in.
No, it's going to be behind the bench stuff. It's going to be.
It's got to be. I'm so interested to see who's going to be what the new coaches are going to be next season.
I am too. I think you and along with all the Flames fans are going to be interested. They're going to be heartbroken if Sutter is still somehow there. But
yeah, because I remember when he came in for the 56 game season, like they were horrible still.
Yeah.
Barely anything changed. So I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of all the time that we have for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the predictions. I know playoff hockey will officially start in about an hour or so here. You could probably look to hear from us probably within the next three to 4 days, I would say, for our next upload. But other than that, we hope you enjoy what we had to say. Anything else before we sign off?
No, I'm very happy with what we got done today. So see you guys in a little bit.
See ya.